Coach, what have you experienced over the last couple seasons as a head coach that you want to employ and focus on during this bye week?
It's always different, Scott, because you kind of based on where your team's at. From a health standpoint, we're a little banged up right now. We've been going at it hard, since the beginning of August, and our kids practice really hard at a high level. We have physical practice during the week, especially on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So you kind of evaluate where we're at in regards to that, and then obviously, what are the things you need to get better at, from looking at these first three games, and areas we really need to improve. And so it's a balance of attacking the things we got to go get better at, and obviously, taking care of our guys, let me get their legs back underneath them. We got a bunch of bumps and bruises and soft tissue things that we need to also take advantage of the week to let our guys heal up a little bit.
In the coaching business, is that something during the off season you kind of have in the back of your mind, wondering when you're going to get those buys?
Yeah, obviously, as soon as the schedule comes out, you look at it, and I think ours come at a good time, and this one certainly comes at a good time, and our next one, 3 games later, is good. So they're spaced out pretty good. I think, Scott, I like the way the schedule lays out in regards to when we have our bye weeks.
Does it also give some of the guys that are fighting for positions a little bit of an opportunity when maybe some guys in front of them are not taking as many reps?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's still some spots where that are highly competitive. You look at the offensive line, and those guys are, the rinse do every day around here, and those guys have to go compete this week. And but yeah, I mean, there's still competition going on, throughout the course of the season. Certain guys are playing well, and certain guys are struggling, and it's just a great week for us to evaluate personnel and evaluate what we're doing as coaches. We're putting these guys in the best possible positions, and I think there's some things we learned these first few weeks to help us moving forward.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Scott.
Wags.
Coach, it's not often that a team can overcome 3 turnovers in 3 possessions and getting behind 14-0 to win a game. Can you talk about what that shows you about your team?
Yeah, I told him after the game I was really pleased with the way that we responded after that. I think we won after we went down 14-0, went on a 42-3 run. But they didn't flinch, and you can talk about things. You can say, we got to have a 1-0 mentality. You got to play the next play and all those kind of things. But when you actually do it, right, that means a little bit more. And so to do that, to get ourselves dug in a hole and then to claw back and the way that we did was encouraging. I was proud of our guys for doing that. You're down 14-0 on the road with just about as bad of a possible start as you can have, but they didn't flinch. There's nobody's heads was down on the sidelines, and that includes the coaches. We just kept battling and then moved on to the next play, the next series.
So that said, obviously through 2 league games, there's issues on both sides of the ball that you probably need to address. Is it a good time for a bye week in terms of getting some things fixed?
Yeah. Scott asked somewhat of a similar question earlier. It's a great week to attack the things, that we've identified as things we really need to work on, in regards to the players and what they're doing, but also, how we're doing things schematically on both sides of football, how we're calling the game, how much we're carrying into a game, and really taking a hard look and evaluating those things moving forward. And so we've done some really good things, but we can be so much better. I think our players realize that too. There's left a lot out there on Saturday, and you just watching the tape, this morning, just the mental errors and mistakes, the lost leverages on the offense side of the football, losing the edge on the defense side of the football. So there's a ton to clean up, and we had 7 new starters on the field on Saturday, from last year. And so we're somewhat of a young team on defense. And so, what are we asking those guys to do? Is it too much? And finding the right pieces, finding the best 11 guys to go out on the field and making sure we're putting them in the right positions. But there's a lot to build on, a lot to improve on, and we're certainly going to have to get better to keep winning games, as we move forward.
It kind of works out well that you're having a bye week prior to playing Rice and Air Force, because this is a different animal than UAB and Tulsa in terms of offense. How is the Rice? Could you describe the Rice triple option? Is it similar to what Air Force does, or is it more similar to what Navy used to do under Coach Johnson and Coach Niamad? I mean, what version of option is Rice employing?
Well, they're strictly in the gun. They don't go under center, so that in and of itself is a little different. A little more, it's zone principle, option football. A lot of what we do in the gun and what Air Force and Army have done in the gun, they do some of those things, but they're a little different, a little unique. And Scott Abel's had a ton of success, everywhere he's been running the football, and I think he's, his last 10 years, I think they've led the country in places he was at three or four of those years in rushing. So it's a good system. He does a really, really good job. It's going to be a challenge for us. And, unlike a lot of people that don't see that week to week, we're pretty familiar with it on defense and what we see in practice every day from our offense. But nonetheless, it's going to be a challenge, and we've got to shift gears in defending that.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Joe Miller.
Yeah, Coach. And I know we're only 3 games into this, but it seems like a little bit of a marker in the season with this bye week coming up. What have you been pleasantly surprised by through 3 games so far this season?
I don't know if there's been any surprises. I've been pleased with, Joe. I think I've been pleased with our effort and our fight. I've been pleased with where our guys have embraced, the process throughout the week, getting ready for these games. I think we practice really hard. I think it's important to our guys. And the thing I shared with them after the game was, you guys work too dang hard at this. Too much time to make some of the mistakes that we're making. But we don't expect to be perfect, but we certainly want to make improvements week to week. And we want to be able to run our base things and do them really, really well. And we're not doing those things as well as I would like to at this point in the season.
Saturday night in Tulsa, defensive line, you guys ended with 3 sacks, but the ability, Griffin got in the backfield, Landon was getting in the backfield, Julian obviously had the big play. The defensive line, even though maybe they didn't get a 7-sack performance or whatever, they were getting to the quarterback. How important is that from the perspective of you look at, we've kind of had the expectations for Landon, but Griffin and Julian and that pressure and what that did to Tulsa, especially after you were able to get up in the game and sort of force them into more of a passing game.
Yeah, I thought we played well up front, Joe. And I think, Julian's, I wouldn't say it's a surprise, but I'm really pleased with him. Losing Justin Reed last year was such a great player for us for 3 years. And having to replace him, I think Julian stepped right in and done a phenomenal job. And he's got a lot of pass rush ability off the edge. So really pleased with the big strip sack that he got. Was a huge play in the game for us. That was a turning point really in the game. And thought Luke Pierce played really, really well on Saturday. So I was really pleased with the defensive line. And it's one of those offenses, the ball comes out quickly a lot. And the quarterback did a good job of getting rid of the ball and not holding on to it. And he was pretty elusive too. They've only taken 1 sack on the year. For us to get 3 of them, I thought it was pretty good. So I've been pleased with the D line, and we got to make sure we keep things in front of us in the back end. We did a decent job of that on Saturday as well.
Also, from the secondary perspective, we hadn't seen Seth at that safety spot, and he starts in that game. Yeah. What are you looking for from that position? I know Andrew came in and played as well. As far as that position, what do you like from Seth? And is that sort of right now a job that's kind of up for grabs at this moment?
Yeah, I mean, we've got, Duhart started the year at free safety, and he's had some ankle issues. So hadn't been healthy. I didn't feel like he was 100% healthy going into that game. But I'll tell you what, I was really, really pleased with Seth and some of the things that he did. He's a big, long safety. He looks the way we want him to look. I mean, he's 6'2", he's 200 pounds and runs around well. And that's his first game, his first snaps. And I was really pleased with the way that he played. And obviously he's going to improve the more he plays. And so thought he played a solid game. So I was really encouraged by that. But Andrew, hopefully this is, having the bye right now allows Duhart to heal up a little bit too, and so then you feel like you got two good options there at free safety, and then Saliga's played there, started the last game for us. So we're building depth there, and those guys that haven't played a bunch for us are growing and getting better.
Thanks, Coach.
You got it, Joe.
Wyatt Kopelman.
Coach, I mean, coming off this game, you committed 3 turnovers in the first half, but the team still pulled away in the second half. What did you learn about your group's ability to adjust from that game?
Yeah, well, they're gritty. They're resilient. They expect to win, and so they don't get rattled. I think that starts with the leadership. In our program, and you look at a guy like Blake, comes out and 3 turnovers in the first 3 drives, and doesn't hang his head, doesn't flinch, and I think that permeates through the rest of the football team. When guys make mistakes, right, they're getting encouraged by their teammates and the coaches, and to move on to the next play. And I think our ability to do that is really good right now. I was pleased with that.
To follow up on that question, through 3 games, this team has shown the ability to win in different ways. How would you describe the identity of this team right now, whether it's on offense with the explosiveness it's shown or even the resiliency of the D?
Yeah, well, like I said, I think it's a tough, gritty football team. I think they're resilient. I think we're a work in progress. I think our guys know that. I think they know there's a ton of room for improvement, and we just got to go attack those things that we know we got to do better, moving forward. But I like this football team. I like the leadership. I like the way they work. Like I said earlier, it's really, really important to them. And they compete. They compete and they play hard, and we just got to keep getting better.
What excited you most about Mark Anthony's performance with the career high 11 tackles he provided on Saturday?
I've been really excited about what he's done the entire year. Obviously only getting to play half the game against UAB. I had to sit out the first half, but he's a really, really good player, Wyatt, and he's only going to get better. But he's really, really smart. He graded out really, really high on Saturday against an offense that showed us a lot, went fast, showed us a lot of formations, was in the right place. He makes plays. I think he's a really, really good football player.
Thanks, Brian.
Yeah.
Coach, I got one for you. Ira Nehigh, we're going to have him on the Zoom on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
Looked like he played a little bit more on Saturday, and he did have 3 pass deflections, which is the most in a game since John Marshall in 2022, who had 5. How do you think Ira played?
I thought he did some really good things. I've been saying this for a couple of years now. Ira's maybe the most talented guy in that corner room from a skill set standpoint. And I thought he competed. It was good, and it wasn't just Ira, but it was our other corners on some most 50-50 balls. They were in great shape and batted the ball down, played the ball in the air really well, and he certainly did that on a few of those plays. He's like a lot of our guys, though. There's a lot of things we got to clean up. We got to get better with our eyes. We got to communicate better on the back end, and so I think he played well, Strauss, and I think we have 3 corners playing at a pretty high level right now, which is good. We got to find a 4th guy, and we've got him in our program. But I've been pretty pleased with the play of our corners, for the most part. But it's a talented group, but they're all young. Ira's played, but obviously Justin Ross hasn't played a ton. Started for us now. Same thing with Phil Hamilton. But those guys are they're really athletic. You look at Justin Ross; he's really long. He can run. Phil Hamilton is as competitive as a guy as we have in our program, and plays with the kind of attitude you want a corner to play with. Loves to play the game, and shows up on Saturdays. And but no, I was pleased with Ira, and we need him to play like that, and we need him to get better, just like those other 2 guys.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Scott Wyckoff.
Coach, when did the light first start to go on about Jackson Gutierrez with the possibility of not only helping this team as a quarterback, but also as a running back, and what makes him the type of player that can do both things? Yeah.
Well, Jackson's a good quarterback, really good quarterback. And, when you watch him run the football at quarterback, he runs with the physicality that you like to see in a running back. And so that's what kind of prompted the whole thought to moving him to be back. And he's smart, knows the offense, and so we were able to plug him in there, pretty seamlessly. He picked it up really fast, and he's done a good job. And he'll still get reps at quarterback, but he's done a nice job filling in there at B-back. But just runs behind his pads, runs with some physicality, and that's what kind of sparked that thought.
And he also seems like the perfect player for academy football, especially when you're looking forward to games down the road against an Air Force and an Army, the type of player that it seems like his game is made for that style of football.
Yeah, he's a physical, tough kid, and he's going to get the extra yards, and he's going to run through contact, and that's what you want in those type of games.
Do you get a sense when you see a player out on the field that they're really a son of a football coach? Do you see a little something different in a guy like a Jackson out there on the field?
Sure. Yeah. Those guys are usually football junkies, and they really, usually their football IQ is really, really high, and his is, and he loves football, and he just wants to play. It doesn't matter if it's a quarterback or B-back or wherever. He just wants to be on the field. He's a competitor, and but yeah, I've been really pleased with Jackson.
Even a potential holder on kicks, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
One note on Jackson, I did some research yesterday. He is the only quarterback in the FBS that is on the depth chart at quarterback and on the depth chart at another offensive position or defensive position. Gutierrez is the only one. Wags.
Coach, on Saturday night after the game, you said that the players that left that game with injuries were not serious. Is that still the case, that you did not lose anybody in that game?
Correct. Yeah, we got a little banged up, but we came out pretty healthy overall.
And do you think, coming off the bye, by the time we get to Rice in 2 weeks, that Cam Nichols and Victor Lastorti and who else am I missing will be able to make their debuts?
Yeah, we talked about Cam this morning, and he's made a lot of progress. Feel pretty good about where he's at. He's going to get in and do some Indy tomorrow, kind of the first steps toward coming back. So I'm optimistic and hopeful he'll be back for Rice. And not sure where we're at with Vic right now. We'll be able to tell a lot here in the next couple of days in regards to whether he may be available, for the Rice game.
And so in terms of schedule, are you going to pretty much stick with the normal schedule you've had, or are you altering anything based on the bye week?
We'll alter the way we're doing this week. We won't practice today. We'll get in. We'll have a team meeting. We'll put the game to rest from Saturday, and then move on. We'll practice Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We'll get a good lift in on Friday and see where we're at. But we've got to recover a little bit. But there's some things, like I said earlier, we've got to go attack this week and get better at. But I want to be smart about how we do it. I want to get these guys, like I said earlier, we've been going at it pretty hard since the first week in August. And so I want to give these guys a little bit of a break and take some of the physicality off of their bodies and the volume this week.
So does it feel good to be 3-0 and knowing that you're far from playing your best football, and there's a lot of improvement that can be made? It speaks to a team that's pretty good if it's winning games and still, not playing at peak performance.
Yeah, it's funny. You got to kind of remind yourself that you're 3-0 and going into a bye week. And, I think a lot of coaches here this morning are a little frustrated. But that's just, that's coaching, right? And said after the game, you love to win, but it's not just about winning and losing. It's how you play the game. Are you playing are we playing to our standard? Are we doing things the right way? And are we getting the most out of our players? That's what I look at more than anything, right? And success in the program is us being the best version of ourselves, and I don't think we're that yet, obviously. But it does excite you because you win a game, you score 42 points, don't feel like you played great offensively. So I guess that's a good sign. But yeah, so much room for improvement. We can be a much, much better football team than we are right now. So yeah, that's exciting, but it's frustrating at the same time, if that makes sense.
And as you look around the American, I think Tulane was picked by most publications to be the favorite, and everybody knows that Memphis is always good. But then you see North Texas putting up a pile of points, and obviously USF has really made a name for itself early. It's looking like a tough conference, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's an improved conference, from top to bottom, and there's some really good football teams in our league. So I think South Florida's really good. I know that Miami's a really, really good football team, and things didn't go the way that they wanted them to for them on Saturday, but they're really good. They're really talented. Obviously, North Texas doing what they did to Washington State kind of opens your eyes a little bit. We know Tulane's a solid football team, and then Memphis, beat the brakes off of Troy. Played Clemson pretty well the week before that. So this is some really good football in our league, and it's not just those three.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Wags.
Okay, I accidentally skipped Tim Nolan. He thinks he's in timeout because of this terrible food order on Friday night, but actually it was an accident. So we're going to go Tim Nolan, Joe Miller, Tim Nolan, and then Kopelman. So Tim, you're up.
Thank you, Brian. I think lamb bolognese is a great food choice, by the way. Don't listen to him. Coach, talking with Julian after the game, he was beaming just about his ability to make a big play and come up huge for the team. How has he been able to take such a huge step here in his sophomore year?
He works his tail off. Julian, he loves football, man. He loves to compete, loves the game. Probably as much as anybody in our program. He loves football, loves being out there, and he plays really, really hard. Played a lot of snaps on Saturday. There was one time we had to get him out because he was exhausted, and that's what I want our guys to be. And play as hard as they possibly can. We'll get him a breather. But it's important to him. He takes coaching and applies coaching. And I think that's why you've seen him get better week to week. But yeah, I'm really, really pleased, like I said earlier, with the way he's played, filling in for, it was a big role to replace Justin Reed. And he's done it really, really well his first 3 games. And he's another guy that he's just going to keep getting better.
Looking big picture of the offense, how inspiring is it for you that you can sustain 15, 16 play drives, but you also have some big play potential from a plethora of guys?
Yeah. Like last year we were more of a big play operation. So we scored a lot of our points, which is good. You want to have explosive plays, and that's kind of the name of the game in football nowadays. But we need to be able to grind things out as well. To have those 12, 13, 14 play drives keeps your defense off the field, wears the defense out, keeps the opponent's offense out of rhythm. Those drives are really important. And so to have the ability to do both those things is big. And we've been better at that this year.
What really impressed you from the sideline? Blake extended a number of plays, whether it was 3rd and 18, and just kept drives going with his improv. How huge is that for your program?
Yeah, I mean, he's an exceptional player. And the things that the runs that he makes things happen sometimes when nothing's there, and that's the mark of a great quarterback. And we had a 3rd and 18. He scrambles and gets the first down with his feet. There was another 3rd and 14. And when things broke down, he did the same thing. He's a playmaker. And, sometimes when you don't block things perfectly, great players find a way to make things happen. He's one of those type of guys. But impressed with his ability just to make plays, Tim, with his feet, make really good decisions. There was one time we ran an option play. He ducked it up inside and then got back on the perimeter and pitched it. Just his football savvy and acumen is through the roof. And then his leadership, his ability to go out there and make the mistakes that he made and just to keep playing and keep his head up. And just been really, really pleased with Blake and his leadership and the way he's playing.
Thank you.
Joe Miller.
Coach, Scott talked about Ira before, but it seemed like on Saturday, and it's not like you guys haven't had 3 cornerbacks out on the same field at the same time, but Ira, Justin, and Phillip were out there on this field at the same time a little bit more. Confident in those 3 guys being out there at the same time, and does that change anything for what you want to do defensively?
No, it didn't change anything. I think just keeping those guys fresh.
Yeah.
As much as anything, Joe, especially when you're playing a tempo team that likes to go fast, and that's a lot on those corners. And so to have bodies that we can roll in there, we'd like to play a lot of guys.
Yeah.
but we're going to play the guys that we trust being out there, obviously. And so when you have three guys like that, it helps things. And Ira can play, the field and the boundary, and so that's nice. And we've got a couple other guys. We got to find and establish a fourth guy, and we've got some talented guys that could do that for us and play snaps. But we got to get to the point where we trust them to put them on the field. And so that's something over the course of the next 2 weeks that we're going to really attack as well.
Josh Guerin got his first catch. It was a fantastic catch on Saturday night. I think he probably played more snaps than he's played all season in the game on Saturday. The confidence level from first couple weeks now, Josh getting obviously some more playing time. What do you like from Josh Guerin's perspective on the offensive side?
Yeah, Josh is really, really talented, Joe. He's dealt with a lot of injuries, during his career here, and had some bad luck. But he's a guy that really had a great summer and a really good fall camp, and he's in a different place now than he was a year ago. From just being bought in, the way he practices, the effort that he plays with. He's good without the ball in his hands in regards to going and blocking and doing some unselfish things, and but he can roll. He's got some big play capability, and so it was awesome to see him make that catch on Saturday, and that's something we need from him. And those X's. Hutchinson and Kent, we need those guys to make big plays. And so I've been really pleased with Josh and his development.
Without Cody in the lineup on Friday night, Theo got a lot more playing time. Those tight ends right now, I know you're excited about some of the development, but there are a lot of young and inexperienced guys. Yeah. What are the key for them? Not necessarily just the bye week, we're getting this opportunity for more playing time. What is the key for them over the next few weeks?
Yeah, just to keep learning and establish that trust with the staff and their teammates. And there's some really talented guys in the tight end room. It looks a lot different than it did, a year ago. But a lot of that talent is young and guys that need to be developed. And Jake's done a really good job. He battled through a little bit of hamstring to play this past weekend, and definitely hurt not having Cody there. I think Cody's playing at a really, really high level. We hope to get him back for Rice. But those young guys, you mentioned Theo, Jordan Collins, is another guy. They're good players, and they'll continue to get better, but they need all the reps and all the practice that they can get.
Thanks, Coach.
Will Miles is the other guy, Joe, that I mentioned. Yep. That's done some really, really good things. And they're all big, physical, tight ends, can run.
Sam Nolan.
Coach, looking at the consistency of this run game through 3 games now, what is really driving the continued success of that unit?
We got really good skill players carrying the football, getting the ball pitched to them. You talk about Teska, Eli, Chapman. Those are really good football players. And our offensive line has done some really good things. But that's where we've got to improve the most is up front. On our O-line, and I think we're plus 800 in the rushing, in the first 3 games versus our opponent, which is pretty outstanding. We had to continue to do that, but Tulsa presents a problem. They were good up front, and we struggled to run the ball to get it going inside and some of the belly and the zone dive stuff, and we've got to be able to run those plays against good people, and so we just got to continue to improve up front. And I think we will. I really do. But some young guys playing in there, and like I talked about, our guys on defense. The more they play, the better they're going to get. Just makes from an assignment standpoint and leverage standpoint that we got to get cleaned up. But this is the kind of week we go attack some of those fundamentals and the techniques of things. And a lot of communication occurs up front on the O-line, especially all the different things we see from defenses and the way that they defend us, and so those guys playing more together. The communication has to be great, and it'll continue to get better. But we've got a lot of room for improvement up front.
And I know this whole past week, you try to stay team-centric as much as possible, but once the clock hit zeros, or maybe even once you got on the plane, did you allow yourself some time to reflect on, your journey and the fact that you got to win as a head coach in that building?
No, not really. It was neat to be there. It was kind of surreal. I played my last high school game in that stadium. Got to see some of my old teachers in the stands before the game, old classmates. Got to visit with my old high school defensive coordinator the night before, him and his wife, for an hour. And so always good to get back to Oklahoma. And obviously my family was there, and so we got a chance to see them. But yeah, just it's good to be back, and good to get a win in Oklahoma. And I think Oklahoma and Tulsa, now we just get Oklahoma State on the schedule, Tim. You know what I mean?
I love it. Thanks, Coach.
Yeah.
Wyatt, we got about 4 minutes.
All right, 2-minute drill. I'll be quick, Coach. How much progress have you seen with the defense getting off the field, given that this unit was 11 of 17 on 3rd and 4th down this week?
Well, were they on 3rd and 4th down?
I'm sorry?
What'd you say the numbers were on 3rd and 4th down?
The defense held Tulsa to 6 of 17, 3rd and 4th down. How much progress have you seen with getting off the field there?
Sorry, well, I thought you said 11 of 17. I didn't think that was accurate.
No. I'm sorry.
Yeah. You know, we spent a ton of time working on 3rd down stuff. Coach Volker and staff do a good job of preparing our guys for what they're going to see. And you know, it's something we emphasize a lot on both sides of the football was just our success rate on 3rd down. I think what you've seen the last 2 weeks is we've not played great in the first half. Why? Whether it was UAB or Tulsa, and our guys settled down a little bit and played much better in the second half. And so I think you got to kind of look at that as coaches. Are we starting the game off with too much? Do we need to be a little bit more vanilla for our guys? Just let them get lined up, get their cleats in the ground, get their eyes in the right place, and let them go play. And so that's something we talked about a lot this morning. But no, I've been pleased with our ability to get off the field on 3rd down. That's obviously really important when you can do that.
Alex and Eli combined for 184 total yards on Saturday. So what do you think their versatility means for how this offense can attack defenses in different ways going forward?
Yeah, I mean, it means a lot. Those guys can do a lot of different things. And what I've been pleased with is what they do when the ball's not in their hands from a blocking perspective. You know, you got a bunch of unselfish guys, a bunch of good players, not enough balls to go around. Why, you know, I think one of the guys I've been the most pleased with is Brandon Chapman, and the way that he blocks, you know, and he's got a ton of ability when he has the ball in his hands. And just like I said, we don't have enough balls to go around because he can do some things when he has the ball in his hands. But he's been, you know, one of the most unselfish guys in our team in regards to just his effort and the way that he blocks. And you know, he's 175 pounds, maybe soaking wet, you know, and he's going to load linebackers and block defensive ends and get on the perimeter, and I can't say enough good things about the way that he's played.
And what does starting a season 3-0 in back-to-back seasons for the first time in 8 years mean for the goal of reaching the conference title game this year and just continuing strong in the next couple of weeks here?
Yeah, well, it's always good to get off to a great start. We just take them one game at a time. You know.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Time's up. Appreciate the questions. We'll be
Thanks,
back
guys.
with Ira and PJ Volker.